What's up, Midpoint? I'm so glad to see y'all here this morning. I got a great story for you. We all learned recently how the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, how they went through all the different plagues. They were even being chased by the army, and they were being followed into the Red Sea. And not only that, they had a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire who led them through the Red Sea. So they were finally out of all that craziness. But let me tell you what the Israelites began to do. Let's look at Exodus 16. It says, "There too, the whole community of Israel complained about Moses and Aaron. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt," they moaned. "There we sat around pots filled with meat and all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into the wilderness to starve us all to death." I don't know about you, but if you know me personally, you know that I do not like to be hungry. I get hangry. Well, these Israelites were not only hungry in the wilderness, but they were also hot. So think about it. Would you like to be hot and hungry at the same time? No. So in that period of time, they were like looking back at Egypt saying, we'd be better off there. God protected them then, but they thought maybe he wasn't protecting them now. Maybe he forgot about them, abandoned them. They just couldn't understand how God could let them go through this. I want you to ask yourself, what were they thinking as they were going through all of this? They were probably asking, does God even care about us? Is God going to come through for us? Am I an inconvenience to God? I want to ask y'all a question, and I want to know what y'all think. Do you think that God's people had the right to complain about what happened? Or do you think they didn't have the right to complain? I'm going to say they're both right. You know, we've all been in instances where we felt like we had to complain, and we know in our heart that God takes care of us. But sometimes our circumstances can cloud our memory, and we forget all that God has done for us. So sometimes we feel like God isn't listening, but believe it or not, God heard the Israelites' complaints about being hungry. And I don't know if you ever heard of manna, but we've never seen it till this day, but God actually sent down bread from heaven. So every morning that they woke up, they had dew on the ground that looked flaky, which was manna, and they would go out and pick it, and that would be their food for the morning. Well, then God told them, I will also send you meat. So in the afternoon, quail swarmed everywhere. So they had all the bread and meat that they needed. If there's anything you learn from this story, just know that God is always listening to you. When you are mad or hurt or confused, God hears you and does not turn away from you. When you feel distant from God, God moves to you. When you feel lost, God is still guiding you. I just want to give you an example of how God showed me that he was still listening to me and that he cared for me and didn't forget about me. When me and Pastor James first came to church at Celebration, the church was alive. There were so many people. And then as months went by, we could see the church falling apart. It was less and less people, and we could tell that there was a change. Well, we were asked to go to another church to help out over there, but we continued to stay because we felt like God was calling us to stay here. And even though we were complaining that we were short of volunteers, short of leaders, and that the church seemed to be dead, because we stayed, now we're here to experience God's love and provision as Celebration Church River Parish is now. We have almost 400 people. We have classrooms filled with kids. And it's all because we leaned on the promises of God, and he heard us, and we trusted in him. God ended up taking care of them for the entire 40 years that they were wandering in the wilderness. And it wasn't anything to do with their faith. It had everything to do with God loving them and providing for them no matter what. I want to read a verse for you in the Bible. It's considered a poem. It's Psalm 77, 11 through 12. "But then I recall all you have done, O Lord. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. They are constantly in my thoughts. I cannot stop thinking about your mighty works." So I'm just here to remind you that when you're in the midst of complaining and you're feeling forgotten or like God is not listening to you, I want you to go write down all the things that God has gotten you through. This poem is telling you just to remember that God is still with you and he loves you. But you have to remember everything that he's done for you in the past to have faith that he will continue to provide in the future. When in doubt, God still takes care of you and you and you and you and you and you.